my disk. Let me do that in a short while. All right, I think the document is already displaying on your end. I would want to believe so. We'll go ahead and look at it. So these both of these documents that we're using for data privacy are very short. Well, they're not that short, but we'll of course not put everything. It has. We just look at. Mwalimu will highlight just a few concepts, the main concepts that are discussed, and then we keep moving. Okay, but it's always good to confirm. So let me get some confirmation that the document is displaying. I don't want to assume. It's very easy to assume from my end. But my end is showing that the document should be displaying. So let me get a few text to just confirm the document is also displaying well. And then we'll, yes, so thank you. That is Steven is confirming that the document is there. Yes, so thank you. So we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so this is a PowerPoint display. Now let me see if we can. Okay, yes. So I think it should be showing okay. At least, so it's indicating there that this is a privacy in the information society. And so we look at a few issues that it highlights relating to the concept of privacy. And so we start by looking at this kind of a definition. What is privacy? And this, of course, is borrowed from another that seems to have put it very clearly. And this seems to have been borrowed in making laws related to privacy, that it's the right of individuals, groups, and institutions to determine for themselves when, how, and to what extent information about them is communicated to others. So when somebody has certain information relating to you, then you should have the freedom. You should have the final say as to when, how, and to what extent information about you can be communicated to others. And so, as we said, it's not so much about keeping information secret, but it's you being able to determine, all these that has been erased here. And so, this is a freedom. This is a privacy. It's having looking at the concept of data privacy. Your data that anybody may have, and as we will just be highlighting later on, which I'm sure. Okay, sorry, just a minute. Let me just confirm something. Okay, sorry for that. All right, so we're saying that you should have the authority, the right. It says the right is the right of individuals. So you should have the right to determine how data should be used. Any data that may be in possession by anybody, how should it be used? Of course, if that if the data is with somebody else, is what extent information about them. So, what type of information that may be in possession by somebody else? Some of these wordings are not very easy to of course they raise debates, when you say information about them. So how did this person get to know this information? So we have issues there that we would have to look at, but especially when it comes to the law, words are a bit tricky. But anyway, this is a good description of what we would mean by privacy of data, the right of individuals, groups, and institutions to determine for themselves when, how, and to what extent information about them is supposed to be communicated, or it can, how should you determine how it should be communicated. If it is to be communicated to, what we now call the third party, it means that it is you yourself, the next person that has certain information about you. Now, and of course, if this information is with somebody else, of course, here we're saying this is a situation in which maybe you willingly gave somebody certain information about you. And of course, we'll be looking at such situations. But then now, this person has information about you. We're saying you have the right now to determine how how else that information can move to somebody else, what we call that party. So how much what regulations are there to make sure that this person does not pass that information to that party, except according to rules and regulations that have been set up either between you and that person, or of course maybe by law. And so, as I said, I will not look at all the text in this particular document. It's essentially by standard, it's a short document, but still we'll just look at some of the key concepts that are raised here. So why is information privacy an issue? Privacy is a fundamental human right and a cornerstone of democratic society. Privacy, and it lies at the foundation of the rule of law, the secret ballot, doctor-patient confidentiality, lawyer-client privilege, the notion of private property, and the value our society places on the autonomy of the individual. So these are some of the issues that arise kind of obviously when it comes to thinking about privacy. And especially, you say the secret ballot. Yeah, you see, this happens especially with elections. When we go to elect our leaders, this issue comes up. and we say let it be by secret ballot. Of course, that is important. And so now what happens is that some of this information is still captured. And especially with nowadays, we have with the computer and other electronic means, much of these, although you do it as what we are calling secret ballot, it is possible that there is an electronic recording of what you have done. Or even if it's not electronic, when we do secret ballot, of course, for those that may have voted in the past, you mark on a paper in this case, but of course, things are getting computerized. But even when we are using the paper, that paper, you leave it, it's a record. So we say now, should somebody come and maybe this one might be now, it is you have given to election officials, who else should be allowed to see how you voted? So these issues come up. What about doctor-patient confidentiality? You have gone to a doctor, you have said many things. Of course, you go because maybe you feel that something is not okay and you need to be helped by a doctor. And the doctor, of course, asks for all this information. How are you feeling? And you give all the what we call now the symptoms. Yes, I feel I have a fever, and all those types of details that we give to the doctor. And then the doctor finally, through the information given, is trying to do what we call a diagnosis, and then interpret those symptoms. What are they about? And then says, okay, now you. Of course, they will maybe tell you, and then write somewhere, suffering from this and that. And so you have left the doctor with certain information. So he's saying now, can the doctor now tell the next person? Now you notice that there is even quite an issue there, because maybe the doctor cannot hide information to the next doctor, because maybe being colleagues, there could be some co-working that is required there, because maybe in the next 5 minutes this doctor might be leaving to go to an assignment outside of the hospital, and so might leave that data with the next doctor. So some of these things of course have to be handled by these concept of privacy. So under what condition should this information go to somebody who is what we are calling the third party? etc. So many issues, as you can see in that list: lawyer-client, issues of private property, what you own and what you don't own, and all these things will arise and create an issue of data privacy. So to what extent and how do we deal with this? And that statement that we gave at the starting about which we are calling our definition, it kind of tries to create the boundaries of that. But the main thing is that the owner of the information is the one who that information is describing. That person or what the person owns, that is the owner of the information. So they are the ones who should determine. And so that gives the concept of privacy. And so we have many issues there. This statement says, I may, for example, I may have made public the price of my house when registering my mortgage at the county courthouse, but I might still want to control how easily others have access to that information, etc. And so, why is privacy one of the most contentious issues of the early 21st century? So with the development of new information and communication technologies, the ability of the state and the private sector to collect, record, and mine information, mining, and mine personal information has grown exponentially. And this somebody here says these are in Canada. He says as early as 1996, Bruce Phillips, then Privacy Commissioner of Canada, warned we are in fact buying and selling large elements of our human personnel. The traffic in human information now is immense. There is almost nothing the commercial and governmental world is not anxious to find out about us as individuals. So, of course, the people, this is a human situation where people always want to know more things, maybe more things about somebody, especially, of course, these are related to people. You want to know more and more things. You hear of somebody, you want to know how did they get to have what they have, and so we always are looking for this information, and so we ask ourselves, so this information, if it is about person A, how can person A be able to determine? Do they have a way of determining who else can know their information about them, or this information should it be given to any person in one way or the other? So how do we control that? And so with the development of information and communication technologies, this issue of privacy is becoming even more important and challenging, of course, to maintain. So it says here, but today people are more concerned about information that they have made public, since more and more of everything we do is, in a sense, made public and accessible in many ways. So you find that nowadays, so much of our information is all over. And of course, in some of these issues that are raised here, when we make a public, when we make a phone call, of course, there's certain data that is left, at the, of course, the company, the telephone company is left with certain information or some details about us. So how much money we have, this, if you are, if you keep some money in Pesa, you keep some money in the bank, those institutions already do have some information about you, including, of course, the money you have. What about the salary? If you are employed, whoever has employed you, it retains certain data. Of course, first of all, they are the ones who are giving you the salary. So it means that they have information about your salary. ATC, etc. So we have a lot of information that is made public in different ways. So all of these parts, in a sense, are made public, how much control we have over them. And so, as we said, we not look at every detail, every text here. And so many people are unaware that when we go online, we leave electronic records, of our movements. So all these is, yes, and of course, it's online. When you actually access websites, you leave some information there, sometimes, of course, without realizing. And so, in fact, there is so much information that we leave behind with certain entities without even realizing that we did that, because maybe all I wanted is to do like a phone call. You just take your mobile phone, you call somebody, and you leave behind some information there without realizing, because you all you wanted is to make a call, and yes, the call went through. You talk to the person, and you are done. But you don't realize that certain information about you and the person that you talk to actually has been left with the company that you have subscribed to for your mobile phone services. So we leave a lot of information behind in one or the other. So some of the ways that information privacy is compromised because of the IT, ICT technologies, ICT, include when we have things like the cookies, how information privacy is compromised. So it can be it is already compromised in the case of cookies that are part of the websites. So a cookie, as it says, is an electronic text file that a website parts on a visitor's browser. So it can either be a session cookie. I think some of these you must have learned in some of the your ICT units. So it can either be a session cookie which expires when the visitor leaves a website, or it's a persistent cookie which serves as a record of a user's trip to a particular website and allows for easy recognition in subsequent visits. So when the websites use cookies, of course, they pick certain information about the one who is visiting that particular website. So, so the cookies is another way that we find that we are leaving information behind when you visit websites. And of course, nowadays it seems like most websites use the cookies. Of course, they ask you whether you want to use you want the cookie to be active. You can say you can allow them the cookie, but of course, sometimes when you refuse the cookie to be there, sometimes it also denies you certain services within that website. So of course, you have now to weigh between the two. Should I allow the cookie to be active? Should I disable cookies? Of course, we always encourage to disable the cookies, but unfortunately, sometimes some of the sites that we want to visit, if you disable the cookie, then it may not allow you to access certain information that you are looking for within that particular site. And so it's a balance, is a very tricky balancing act there to say yes or no. But cookies, yes, they pick information along the way. So there are also another technology called the web bugs. So again, of course, it's not a cookie, it's something different, but which also collects information about the individual visiting a certain website. So as it says there, these are small transparent graphics that are placed in websites or email messages, generally used to measure the number of hits on a site or to record which sections are most often accessed. So some websites will put such a software, a web bug, which is supposed to pick certain information about the visitor of a website. So those again can collect information about somebody, your interests and the things like that that relate to where, what type of items you are looking for. And then, of course, both cookies and web bugs, sometimes they are useful, but the issue is they still collect information. So do we want them to collect information? But the bigger question is, once they have collected this information, are they likely to pass it to a third party? Because you have visited a website willingly, so there is no problem when you are there. But if they have something that is collecting information about you, what is likely to happen to that information? Are they likely to pass it to a third party without you deciding on that? And that is the big issue there when it comes to privacy. What about spyware? So this is a popular software available on the internet, such as the music sharing programs, may come bundled with other software which has embedded instructions to other personal information. So we have softwares that are called spyware, which also can collect information. So all these are technologies that compromise privacy online. Of course, this is now online. They can compromise privacy. In fact, many times we are not even aware that they are collecting, but so we are being made aware in some way. So web browsers, so again, the web browsers also do, of course, they are part of the websites. So some World Wide Web browsers collect a list of the websites that you have accessed. So the websites that you have accessed. So these browsers now, this is not the website, is now a browser. So a browser, so like maybe Mozilla or Google Chrome or any of the the browsers, the software that we use to open our website. So some of them also may be equipped with that technology where they're able to collect a list of the websites that you have accessed. And so, of course, you see when you are opening, you are using Google Chrome, for example, you see you'll likely visit quite a number of websites. You click this part, you click the next part, you click, you keep following the links. Or even if it's not the links, you are doing a Google search, you open Google search, you type something that you like to search for, and then you search for it, and you see the list of available websites that can give you that information. So essentially, you will keep on maybe opening so many sites, and so you are still using the same browser, and so it can keep a list of the websites that you are accessing. So what does that mean? That of course could be used in the future for certain situations that you may not have given your own authority for that information to be used. Of course, it becomes like a property of the owner of the browser now. To know what, if they are going to use that list for any reason. Once they have created a list of the websites you have visited, so you don't know what they will do with that list. And but of course, this part here, bullet 3 and bullet 4 tries to give us some of the negative things that could happen when they collect such a list. So, for example, if it's political, they may prevent you being able to visit certain websites. So imagine that a website has implemented a procedure to read your list of websites and it decides whether to admit you based on what other places have been. So in a sense, the system is discriminating in that case. So if they can decide to make it difficult for you to access certain certain sites, or maybe just judge you according to the sites that you normally visit. So it can be used, especially when it is used negatively. So the same, I will leave you to read that a little more and see how this list may not look harmful, but it can be in future. It could be. So why should they create such a list on an individual? So those are the issues that would keep on coming up when we are thinking about personal data that belongs to you. So and it is now with somebody else. So how can it? How much authority do we have to decide on how that data should be used in the future? So that's the whole issue about privacy. So web browsers can also have an issue there. Now, also the government collects a lot of information, and it's desirable also that the government should also not have the 100% freedom as to how they should use that information. So the individual of whom that data has been used, the one who that information is talking about, should also have a right, even how the government should use such information. But of course, the government may have a leeway in certain issues, but of course, there still need to be a limitation as to what the government also can do once it has the data about somebody. And of course, we are saying that there are certain information that we cannot keep to ourselves. We are part of the society, and we are under our government. So there is certain information we'll always keep releasing now and then. But how will it be used by the person that we're given this information? Now that is where we start talking about privacy. So government should also be limited in use of private data, and just a few issues about how can we deal with this issue ourselves as individuals. So there are a few things that we can do. One is to have our data encrypted, but you see again, that may be only a short time, because even when we encrypt data, if it's data that, for example, if you are sending it to government electronically and you encrypt it, well, the issue is, once that data is now with the government, how much control do you have with that? And that becomes an issue, even if you, because you have to have it decrypted for what we can call the second party to be able to receive that information. It has to be opened up, and so but at least as long as it is not with this second party, at least you can prevent it being accessible to a third party by the process of encryption. So some of the things that we can do to protect our own data in terms of privacy. So that talks about privacy there. I mean, the way of encryption is one way of preventing third parties accessing your information. The other one is anonymity, accessing online services in what you can call anonymously. But this is tricky, because we may think we are anonymous, but not as much. At least you may not use your name as people know it, but there are still a lot of details that can be known again by the technology. But at least, well, it can give us a sense of privacy to some extent. But we need to be aware that it's so easy for the technology to discover who we are. But of course, in the immediate sense, yes, you can really be anonymous and have a sense of privacy when you are accessing these online services. Yes, now I hope we getting along well. Now, you say that, for example, there maybe like here, the cashier may not know your name, but it is the nature of real world transactions that the public libraries. If you enter the store wearing a mask, you would be treated very differently. Of course, just trying to be a bit humorous there. So online services have discovered that what real world citizens want from cyberspace is a place where they can talk. Chatter rooms and online discussions have become the single most important part of online systems. So, of course, just giving, as we said, a sense of privacy when if you are talking, you are chatting with somebody, you are not looking at each other face to face. So it gives you some sense of privacy, and you're able to share in a more detailed way about yourself. But then they say here, it's asking, is this anonymity or pseudonymity legally protected? So, well, that's now an issue of government issues again. But we're saying that, yes, while we may sense a bit of privacy by trying to access online services anonymously, but no, it's not as private as we think, because it's very easy to be traced. So that's what it's asking here. The critical question with both pseudonymity and anonymity is traceability. So, of course, pseudonymity is when you, of course, it's almost the same thing online. Pseudonymity, anonymity, because either way you have to use something that that you use to access a service. So pseudonymity is when you try to, of course, you have an identification, but it is not the actual name you used to use as something else. Pseudonymity. Okay, just a minute. I check. Right. Okay, now I can see that can be answered by somebody else, so I don't have to respond to what a message that is coming. All right, so like here it says, can one find out who sent the message on a service like now these are one of the companies, internet services, and it says so the answer is yes. You can easily be located in different ways. It's so easy to even if you're anonymous when using the online, don't think that you are so anonymous. You can be anonymous, the people that are accessing you immediately, but of course, if need be, it is possible to be traced, and all your details. It's very easy to be traced in one way or the other. But of course, yes, as we say, it can give you a bit of feeling private. Well, as to whether it should be anonymous or not, that is a personal issue, and I think we can't say whether it is good or bad. I think it's you can leave it as a personal decision. So some people would choose to be anonymous, but of course, some others may feel that that is not very right. But again, it's on an issue of the right. There are certain freedoms where people have freedom which is provided by the. Okay, just a minute. I put my computer to power. You can see it is going down. Okay, so I think we can go on. So with this document, therefore, I think that's the much that it contains, and so I'm going to go ahead and open the other document, which I will just highlight what it discusses about, without actually discussing the content. So I'm going to and share the one which is displayed now, and I put another one which is still on privacy, and then we just say a few things about the concepts there. Okay, so let me remove this, and we mount another one. So these two documents are already on the site. On our portal, so you should be able to access them. And there is also another document. So actually there are 3 documents that are at the portal, and all are quite relevant to this. There is another one which is also listed at the portal as a page, as a portal page for the ZDS portal page. So you should be able to also access that, and it's going to be important that you read all these 3 documents, especially the one at the portal is also very, very key. The one which is not a PowerPoint document is very, very good. Tries to be very much down to other issues. So it is going to be important that you look at it as well. Okay, from my end, it says that this document is already shared again. And so we can go ahead and open it. We look at a few things, just a few things about what it raises in this case. So privacy. Okay, let me put it in a presentation format. So privacy and the right of information. So here, this one especially focuses on issues about the right of information, privacy and the right of information. So these are 2 different issues here. Right to information or right of information when somebody discloses about you, they have certain data, and then they are trying to disclose it about you to a third party. What would we say about that? Should the third party say, I have the right to information, and so then it is disclosed? So there are issues here that arise. But nonetheless, this document actually focuses on more issues. So it's more of a follow-up of what we have just discussed, and it shows some of the issues that impact. So this expounds a little more on the impact of computer technology on issues relating to privacy of data. And of course, as the opening statement there says that computers are not needed for the enforcement of privacy. Computers simply make new threats possible and old threats more potent. So computers have made it more, easier for people to invade other people's privacy in terms of accessing their data and information. So privacy can mean freedom from intrusion, control of information about oneself, or freedom from surveillance. So these are some of the main issues that are discussed here. The impact of computer technology. So I'm just highlighting some of these technologies without saying too many things about them, because I think most of these, of course, we must, they are quite familiar issues. So there is much invisible information gathering. A lot of information is being gathered without us realizing sometimes. Of course, these means are also put in place for certain to accomplish certain objectives in terms of maybe just data about a certain service, all as security in government. So we have a lot of all these. So satellite surveillance. So the satellites up there, they are always taking a lot of information, especially in terms of images. when we call, using telephone, all these details. These are different ways that our information is picked up in an invisible way. Loyalty cards, these are the cards that like the ones we normally use to visit the supermarkets. When we start visiting a supermarket, they tell us, oh, we have cards. Do you have a card? And then we apply for a card. See, these are the loyalty cards. Web tracking, using cookies and all that. We have already said peer-to-peer monitoring, etc. So we have all these some invisible ways that our information is gathered. And these are services that we need. And so sometimes we just accept to be put in the program without realizing that they will be collecting a lot of our data. Okay. Then we have, as I said, is just a lot of issues here raised about the computer technology. There is much secondary use of information. So once we have given some information to a certain company, organization, or whatever we may have visited, then how is that information used? And sometimes some of these organizations take freedom to use our information in a way that was the original reason why we gave that information. So that's what we are calling secondary use. There is the issue of what we are calling computer matching, where information is collected from different databases and then put together. So computer matching, say combining and comparing information from more than one database. So that, of course, happens also quite a lot. Profiling, of course, is a little more targeted, using data in computer files to predict likely behaviors of people. And so, of course, so this is where now we do an analysis. We do an analysis of data that we have collected. So, for example, as we say, the loyalty card, you see, you can you just keep on using the card. You have added points, and the process, the systems in the supermarket are collecting certain information about you. Of course, the obvious ones would be already you have the card, so your name, probably ID. Certain details already have been collected about you. And then when you are visiting these supermarkets, they're also collecting information about what you are purchasing. So what did you purchase? What did you purchase? What? So they can actually do what we are calling a profiling here, and determining quite a number of things. Of course, in this case, in the supermarket case, is mainly what are your main items that you normally buy. What is the most popular item that you like there. So, of course, they will be collecting that from other people as well, and it may determine what they might do next. There could be some items that they can just decide never to keep, and then they can increase the one which they are seeing that more people are buying. So it can be used in certain ways which are positive, of course, like that one. If it is helping them to to strategize better, that is still internal. But and that of course is what we are calling a secondary use, not the one which we are saying that to the third party. So they can still use it in a way that is positive as a secondary use, but of course we would be bothered if they say they give it to that party. All right, monitoring, tracking. So again, we have a lot of these happening. We are being watched silently by certain because of certain technologies. Of course, we are aware of the GPS. Cell phones. Of course, in association with the GPS, you can be tracked. Of course, it has to do with the GPS to some extent, but of course not always. But yes, you can be watched through your cell phone. And of course, other technologies that are there, including what we are calling the black boxes in automobiles, other wireless appliances. We are already going to the age of IoT. IoT is what? Internet of Things. where almost everything can be collecting information about you. Well, so we being watched silently. So these are some of the issues that come up, which the impact of computer technology on the privacy and privacy of data. So the governments, of course, are coming up with the laws that try to deal with this issue of privacy, to say how can we protect privacy of data. And so we have the governments coming up with the laws all over, and Kenya also has a law on privacy of data. So some of these are based on other governments. At least I know this is mainly about in Britain and Europe. I think it's Europe, where they have a Privacy Act of 1974. I need to confirm that of 1988. That could be in US. And of course, some of much knowledge about some of these issues are based on what the experience that the US has gone through in developing laws on all these issues. So that's about the government coming up with the laws to regulate issues about privacy of data. And so we have also another way that data is collected about us is what we are calling consumer information, which has to do with us getting involved in purchasing from different sources, purchasing different things, and in so doing, a lot of our data is collected. We have already mentioned that earlier on the concept of loyalty cards. And so the rest of this is talking about that, how our data is collected as we purchase items, but also how it may be used for secondary, what we are calling secondary use. But sometimes it could also find you might find it going to third parties, and which now will be violating privacy of data. But even these consumer using it for for other things other than the original reason why the data was given, that one is debatable whether it is against the law or not. Now, we have many challenges sometimes in dealing with the issue of privacy of data. So some of them are highlighted here. The next, so it says some few slides here talk about more privacy risks. And of course, some of these are things that we have already said. Some of the ways that we end up giving our information, there are situations that you cannot run away from it. Once in a while, of course, you'll have to give your information to some person or some organization, because the services that they offer, you also need the service. In the process of you needing a service, that organization or company need certain data from you, and so we end up finding that we cannot be completely private. We have to have our data with other persons. But the question is, should it be passed to a third party? So that's a main issue. So all these just dealing with that, more privacy risks that exist. So how can we protect, do the protection of, how can we protect privacy? And so the next few slides are talking about that. One is to be educated about the issue about how our information may be captured in certain situations. So we need to be educated about technology. And of course, then we need to have some way of dealing with this technology. And so how do we deal with it? For example, disable cookies. There is also the issue of what we call opt-in, opt-out options. So this is where we decide, like now the cookies, where when we visit a certain page and it tells us that this website it requires you to allow the cookie. Otherwise, of course, it is not going to say otherwise, but it will say that if you need service on this website, you need to allow cookies. And then you are given the option. So do you want the cookie to stay active, or do you want to disable to prevent the cookie being active on that website? So that's what is we are calling opt-in, opt-out. So you can say yes, the cookie to be active, then you have opted in. You can say you can opt out. You say you click the one you say no. Of course, there will be a button that gives you the what you need to do. If it is no, then you click what. So that is opt out. So if you say no, you don't want the cookie to be active, then you are opting out. So opt in, opt out options, and of course a few other things that can be done. So as I said, I will let you just read this at your own time and try to understand all the various ways that you can also participate in dealing with your own privacy. So preventing data being collected in certain situations that you really don't want data to be collected. Now, what about where you go to do your shopping, buying things? They can also do something to protect your privacy. So markets can protect your privacy in certain ways. For example, using what they are calling trusted third parties. So if they are giving the information about you, they only give it to what we are calling trusted third parties, etc. So again, a few more suggestions there, how markets can protect your privacy. And then, of course, ultimately, we hope that the government has good laws and regulations to protect people's privacies. So read these other slides that are mainly focusing on what the governments can do also to protect privacy of data. So that's the end of this particular topic discussion on data privacy. So those two documents, please read them again at one time so that you capture every kind of detail that is important about or that is highlighted in these particular two documents on data privacy. And so now I want, as I said, it's going to be just a very short presentation on the freedom of expression. The freedom of expression, which is like the other side of privacy, freedom of expression, although this is from a different perspective. When you talk about a freedom of expression, and of course that sometimes may mean that you are actually divulging information about somebody else. Although here we're putting it from a different perspective, just that do you have the freedom to display any information? And of course, as we are saying, of course, that may mean information about somebody. And of course, this is mainly in one way or the other, including, public speech. So can you just say just anything as a public speech, or of course, other means of passing on information? So, but before we open the document that we'll use it to just discuss on freedom of expression, so we can allow just a few minutes of somebody who has a question or a comment to raise. But let me remove this document from share. All right, let me remove this from share. So if you have a question or a comment, let me allow just a few minutes to respond to any comment relating to this subject of freedom, not freedom, but data privacy and issues related to the same. Data privacy and issues related to this. Any comment, any question? Okay, so all right. Sorry for the interruption. Gunda there is saying they had a blackout, Paul Sana, but at least you are back. And you can see Alexander's encouragement there. That's good. All right. In that case, then we'll just go ahead and open the document that we hope to use for briefly looking at the freedom of expression. But this particular document, yes. Now I'm going to ask you to log out of this session and log in immediately. This should be coming at topic. Is it topic 6? There in our portal. Sorry for that. I put them in different topic areas. Let me just confirm something. Yes, I would like, I'm going to ask you to log out and log in at topic 7, please, at our portal. We join a big blue button separated from this one so that it can capture that as a topic 7 discussion. So I'm going to ask you to log out and log in immediately. There is a big blue button icon for topic 7. There is an area written topic 7, so just access it and log into the big blue button for topic 7, and we look at freedom of expression briefly. So I'm going to end this particular meeting of this particular the icon that you use for this particular discussion. I'm going to end this meeting, and I want us to join the other meeting immediately, which is at the area written topic 7 at our portal. So for this discussion, then thank you for listening. Let's move to freedom of information.